The candlelight on the dinner table made everything look softer than it really was. My mother had arranged the flowers herself, white lilies, too perfect, too deliberate. My father poured wine like this was a celebration, not a setup. The dining room smelled like rosemary chicken and expensive perfume, the kind of evening my parents liked to curate when they wanted control. Family dinner. That phrase always sounded warm to outsiders. To me, it sounded like a courtroom without a judge. I sat across from them, hands folded neatly in my lap, wearing the calm expression I'd perfected over years of surviving their smiles. My mother laughed lightly. "I'm just so proud of you," she said, voice sugary. "All your success. All your responsibility." Responsibility. Her favorite word when she meant obligation. My father nodded, swirling his wine. "You've done well," he said. "Better than we expected, honestly. Better than we expected." The compliment was sharp at the edges. I smiled politely. "Thank you." On the surface, it looked normal. A family catching up, a daughter enjoying dinner, but my stomach had been tight since the moment they invited me. Because my parents never did anything without a reason. My mother leaned forward. "So," she said casually, "that trust account, it's still growing, right?" There it was. The bait. I kept my face neutral. "It's stable," I replied. My father chuckled. "Stable," he repeated, like money was only real when it benefited him. "You're lucky. Most people your age don't have that kind of cushion." Cushion. He meant leverage. My trust fund wasn't some gift they'd given me. It was the result of my grandmother's estate, money she left specifically to me, with conditions that it could not be touched by anyone else. Not even them. Especially not them. My mother sighed dramatically. "Life is just so expensive now," she said. "Mortgage rates, insurance, everything." I didn't respond. My father leaned back, eyes narrowing slightly. "You know," he said, "family helps family." There it was. The hook wrapped in virtue. I lifted my wineglass, taking a slow sip. "I agree," I said quietly. My mother's smile widened. "Good." They thought I was swallowing it. They didn't realize I was watching. Halfway through dinner, my mother stood. "Oh, dessert," she chirped. "I'll get the cake." She disappeared into the kitchen. My father's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, then at me. "Excuse me," he murmured. He stood and walked toward the hallway. I stayed seated, calm, still. The house was quiet except for the faint clink of my mother moving plates. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw it. My father didn't go to the hallway. He went to the small desk near the living room. The desk where my mother kept a laptop. He opened it, typed quickly, too quickly. My pulse stayed steady, because I already knew. I had suspected. For weeks, odd things had been happening. A mailed statement that never arrived. A notification I didn't recognize. A brief lockout from my own banking app. Little tremors. Enough to tell me something was shifting under the surface. I'd asked my mother once. She'd smiled innocently. "Oh honey, probably just a glitch." Glitch. Like their intentions. I watched my father's shoulders hunched slightly as he typed. Then my mother's voice floated from the kitchen. "Is everything okay out there?" My father didn't answer. His fingers moved faster. And then, my phone vibrated softly in my lap. One buzz. Then another. I glanced down. A silent notification. Bank login detected, new device. My breath remained even. Because I expected this. And then a second alert appeared, the one no one else knew existed. Silent security protocol activated. My lips curved almost imperceptibly. My father thought he was clever. He thought he was doing this quietly. He had no idea every unauthorized move triggered a chain reaction he couldn't stop. My mother returned, carrying dessert like a hostess in a performance. She set the cake down, smiling brightly. "There we go." I looked up at her. She looked back at me, eyes too innocent. My father returned to his seat, smoothing his expression. Everything normal, everything polite, except I could see it now. The tension beneath their smiles. The hunger. My mother cut the cake. "You're quiet," she noted. I took a forkful slowly. "Just enjoying the night," I said. My father's eyes flickered. Then his phone buzzed. Once. He ignored it. Then again. He stiffened slightly. My mother kept talking, voice too loud. "We should all take a trip together," she said. "As a family. Trip. Escape." My father's phone buzzed a third time. His jaw tightened. I sipped my wine calmly. Because I knew what that buzz meant. It wasn't a message from a friend. It wasn't a notification. It was a warning. To him. He glanced at the screen. His face shifted. Just a fraction. My mother noticed. "What is it?" she asked quickly. "Nothing," he said too fast. But his hand trembled slightly as he set the phone down. I smiled softly. They didn't know it yet. But the transfer they just initiated, the one they thought was invisible, had been linked to something they couldn't charm, manipulate, or guilt away. A silent alarm, not a loud siren, not flashing lights, something worse. A federal fraud trigger tied to the trust's protective clause. My grandmother had been smarter than them. And I had become smarter too. I set my fork down gently. My mother's voice was still sweet. So, Claire, about that account. I met her eyes calmly. Yes? She smiled. Wouldn't it be nice, she said softly, to make sure it stays in the family? I smiled back. It will, I said quietly. My father swallowed. Then the doorbell rang. One sharp chime. Then another. My mother froze mid-breath. My father's face drained of color. And I realized, the silent alarm wasn't silent anymore. Someone had heard it. The doorbell rang again. Longer this time. Insistent. My mother's knife hovered over the cake slice, frozen midair. My father didn't move. Neither of them spoke. The only sound in the room was the faint hum of the chandelier and my own slow breathing. Then my father forced a laugh. Probably a neighbor, he muttered. A neighbor. At 9 o'clock at night. In a gated community. My mother's eyes darted toward the door. Just ignore it, she whispered. Ignore it. Like they ignored my boundaries. Like they ignored the trust documents. Like they ignored me. The bell rang a third time. Then a voice outside, muffled through the heavy wood. Federal Compliance Unit. Please open the door. My mother's face went white. My father's wineglass trembled slightly in his hand. I didn't react. I simply reached for my napkin and wiped my fingers, slow and composed. My mother's voice cracked. Compliance? What does that mean? My father hissed back under his breath. Stay quiet. As if silence could erase what they'd just done. The voice came again. Sir, we have a warrant regarding attempted financial fraud and unauthorized account access. My mother made a broken sound. My father stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. He glanced at me sharply, eyes narrowed like he was searching for an explanation. I met his gaze calmly. My father swallowed hard. Then he walked to the door. He opened it. Two men stood outside in dark suits, badges clipped to their jackets. A woman beside them held a tablet. Not police uniforms. Worse. The kind of people who didn't bluff. Mr. Bennett? The taller man asked. My father forced a smile that looked like pain. Yes. Can I help you? The woman glanced down. We received an automated fraud trigger linked to the Bennett Trust. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's voice tightened. That must be a mistake. The man's expression didn't change. The alert was triggered by a login attempt and transfer request from an unregistered device 10 minutes ago. Silence. My father's eyes flickered. My mother whispered behind him. Oh God. The woman continued calmly. The trust is protected by federal reporting requirements. Unauthorized access triggers immediate compliance review. My father's voice rose slightly, sharp with desperation. I'm her father. I was just. Your relationship is irrelevant, the man cut in. Only authorized parties may initiate transfers. My father's jaw clenched. Behind him, my mother stepped forward, trembling. This is our daughter, she whispered. We weren't stealing. The woman looked past them, eyes landing on me at the dining table. Ms. Claire Bennett? I stood slowly. Yes. Her tone softened slightly. Are you aware of this attempted transaction? My father snapped before I could answer. She knew. She invited us. This is a family matter. The man's eyes turned cold. This is not a family matter. This is a protected financial instrument. My mother's voice broke. We didn't mean any harm. We were just trying to help manage. Help manage, I repeated softly, stepping forward. They both turned toward me. My father's face tightened. Claire, he hissed, low enough only I could hear. What did you do? I blinked calmly. I protected myself. My mother's eyes filled with tears. You called them? I shook my head. No. My voice was quiet. You called them, when you tried to drain my account. My father's breathing turned harsh. The tall man lifted a tablet. We need to ask you both some questions, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. Inside, my father's pride warred with panic. This is ridiculous, he muttered. But he stepped aside. They entered the dining room. The scene looked absurd now. Cake half cut. Wine glasses still full. A family dinner turned crime scene. The woman tapped her screen. The attempted transfer was in the amount of. My father interrupted quickly. It didn't go through. The woman glanced up. It was stopped, she confirmed, because the trust's silent alarm flagged it. My mother sank into a chair like her bones gave out. My father stared at me, horror and fury colliding. You set a trap. I held his gaze. You said it first, I replied. His voice rose. We are your parents. And you used a forged ID, the woman added sharply, to access her banking profile. My mother gasped. What? She whispered, turning to my father. His face froze. The compliance officer continued, voice clipped. The login credentials used included a falsified identity verification document. That elevates this to criminal fraud. My mother's head snapped toward him. You forged something? My father stammered. It was just a workaround. The bank makes it difficult. My mother's voice rose, breaking. You told me it was just checking the balance. My father's eyes flashed. Lower your voice. The officer's tone was cold. Ma'am, did you knowingly participate in the forgery? My mother shook violently. No, I didn't. My father snapped. Stop talking. His anger was reflex. Control slipping. The tall man turned toward me. Ms. Bennett, do you wish to press charges? My mother sobbed. Claire, please? My father's voice was harsh. Don't you dare. I looked at them. At the people who raised me with love only when it was convenient. At the people who smiled across the table while emptying my life. My voice came out calm. I want the truth on record. The officer nodded. That will be done. My father's face twisted with rage. You're humiliating us. I smiled faintly. No, I whispered. You humiliated yourselves. My mother reached for me, desperate. We needed help. We were drowning. The mortgage, the bills. And you thought stealing from me was help? Her sobbing collapsed. My father's voice was sharp. She has money sitting there doing nothing. Doing nothing. As if my future was idle cash for him to grab. I inhaled slowly. That money was Grandma's legacy, I said. It was meant to protect me from exactly this. My father flinched at her name. The officers exchanged a look. The woman spoke again. Mr. Bennett, you will need to come with us for formal questioning. My mother screamed. No, please. My father's face went gray. He grabbed the back of the chair. This is insane. I didn't steal anything. The man's voice was flat. You attempted to. Attempted. That was enough. My father's eyes snapped to me, desperation cracking through arrogance. Fix this, he hissed. I stared at him. The same words my sister used. Fix it. Save me. Clean up their mess. I shook my head slowly. No. His voice broke. You would ruin your own father? I leaned closer, voice low and final. You ruined yourself the moment you logged into my account. Silence. My mother sobbed into her hands. The officers guided my father toward the door. He resisted slightly, pride fighting. Then he looked back at me one last time. His eyes were full of something I'd never seen before. Fear, because for the first time, I wasn't folding. The front door closed behind them with a sound that felt too final to belong to a simple evening. My father was gone, not storming off in anger. Not leaving to cool down. Escorted, questioned, exposed. My mother stood in the dining room like a statue that had forgotten how to breathe, hands trembling at her sides. The cake sat untouched, its perfect frosting suddenly grotesque. Family dinner. My father had called it that. Now it was evidence. The compliance officer turned slightly toward me. Ms. Bennett, she said gently, your account is secure. The attempted transfer has been blocked. I nodded slowly. Thank you. The tall man added, calm but firm. You should know, this wasn't random. This trust was flagged because of the identity forgery. That's serious. My mother flinched at the word forgery as if it burned. I didn't know, she whispered again, broken. The officer's gaze softened for a moment, then returned to professionalism. We'll follow up once questioning is complete. They left quietly. The house felt enormous after the door shut. My mother sank into a chair, shaking. For a long time, she didn't speak. Then, in a voice so small I almost didn't hear it, she said, he wasn't supposed to do that. I looked at her. What? She swallowed hard. He promised he'd just look. Just see what was there. He said we were desperate. Desperate. The word tasted bitter. Why? I asked quietly. Why were you desperate? My mother's lips trembled. I didn't want you to know. My stomach tightened. Know what? She stared at the tablecloth like it might save her. Then she whispered the truth. We don't have money. I blinked. What do you mean? She laughed weakly, almost hysterical. Everyone thinks we do. The house, the dinners, the appearances. Her voice broke. It's all borrowed. Borrowed. My chest tightened. My mother continued, trembling. Your father's business has been failing for 2 years. The air shifted. My father had always carried himself like authority. Like stability. Like a man who could never fall. But now I saw the cracks. He never told you, I murmured. My mother shook her head. He couldn't. His pride, he thought he could fix it before anyone found out. I stared. And he thought my savings were the fix. My mother sobbed. Yes. The silence that followed was thick with something worse than betrayal. It was clarity. Then my mother whispered, "There's more." My stomach dropped. "What?" She wiped her face, shaking. "He's not the only one." My blood went cold. "What do you mean?" Her voice cracked. "Your Uncle Mark." The name hit like a slap. My father's brother. The one who always hugged too hard and asked too many questions about my career. "He was involved?" I whispered. My mother nodded, tears spilling. "They made a deal. Mark promised he knew someone who could help refinance, but they needed liquid cash fast. Just enough to hold everything together." My throat tightened. "So Dad tried to take it from me." My mother nodded, sobbing harder. "And when that didn't work," she whispered, "they were going to come back again." Again. Not a mistake. A plan. My stomach turned. "How long?" I asked softly. My mother's face collapsed. "Since your grandmother died." The words sank into me like stones. Since Grandma died, my trust fund wasn't just protection. It was a target. My father hadn't seen it as my future. He'd seen it as his emergency exit. My voice came out low. "You were going to let him." My mother shook violently. I didn't know how to stop him. I stared at her. The same sentence. The same weakness. No one ever stopped him. Not at 15. Not now. At that moment, my phone buzzed. Elaine Harper. My lawyer. I answered immediately. "Claire," she said, voice clipped, "I just got an update." My stomach tightened. "About my father?" "Yes," she confirmed. "He's being held for questioning. But listen, there's something you need to know." "What?" Elaine paused. "They found additional forged documents." My chest went cold. "Additional?" Elaine's voice sharpened. "They weren't just trying to transfer money. They were trying to change beneficiary records." My breath caught. "Change them to who?" Elaine's tone was deadly calm. "To your Uncle Mark." The room blurred. My mother gasped softly, hearing the name. Elaine continued. "And Claire, that means this wasn't desperation." I whispered. "It was conspiracy." "Yes," Elaine said. "Your parents weren't acting alone. They were building a network around your trust." My pulse hammered. "What happens now?" Elaine's voice turned firm. "Now we end it legally." "Completely." I swallowed. "How?" Elaine exhaled. "Tomorrow morning, we file a restraining financial order. No family member can approach your accounts again. We also report Mark's involvement formally." My mother made a broken sound. "No, please." I looked at her. She flinched. "Claire," her voice was begging now. The same begging I'd done at 15. I inhaled slowly. "This is the consequence," I said quietly. She sobbed. "We're family. Family." The word had been used like a weapon all night. I leaned forward, voice steady. "Family doesn't forge identities." My mother crumpled. And for the first time, I felt something strange. Not satisfaction. Not joy. Relief. Because the truth was finally out. The next morning, my father called from an unknown number. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. His voice was hoarse. "Claire, please. I was trying to save us. You don't understand what it's like to lose everything." Lose everything. I listened to it once. Then deleted it. Because I understood perfectly. I understood what it was like to lose a home at 15. To lose safety. To lose trust. He wasn't losing everything. He was losing control. And that was the only loss that ever scared him. By noon, Elaine filed the orders. My trust was sealed tighter than ever. My uncle was summoned for questioning. My parents' financial facade began to collapse under investigation. Neighbors started whispering. Family friends stopped calling. The life my parents curated through appearances evaporated. That night, my mother texted only 2 words. "I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, "I hope you learn." Not forgiveness. Not cruelty. Just truth. Weeks later, Elaine called with the final update. "Your father accepted a plea agreement," she said softly. "No jail, but probation. Restitution. And permanent restrictions." Permanent. He would never touch my accounts again. He would never stand over me with entitlement again. The silent alarm had done more than protect money. It had exposed the rot beneath the tablecloth. Family wasn't supposed to be a trap. But mine had been. And now it wasn't. On a quiet Sunday evening, I sat alone at my own table, eating dinner in peaceful silence. No performances. No hidden logins. No smiles with sharp edges. Just me. Safe. Untouchable. Free. Because the night my parents thought they could drain my savings, they didn't just trigger an alarm. They triggered the end of their control.